All right, welcome back. The Labor Department is fining Smithfield Foods, the government's first coronavirus citation. The department accuses the company of failing to protect its employees after an outbreak of COVID-19 at a pork processing plant in South Dakota. But the fine is just $13,000 for a multi-billion-dollar company. Mark Lauritsen is an international vice president for the largest meatpacking union in the country, and he joins me now from Philadelphia. Good to see you, Mark.
Good. Thank you for having me, Frederica.
All right, so this fine perhaps is nothing, to Smithfield, since it's such a gigantic company, but that $13,000 fine is the maximum amount allowed by law. So does this seem like much of a deterrent for these big companies?
Well, I think what happened with Smithfield, and probably will happen with other meatpacking companies, is typical of what OSHA has done during the largest health outbreak we've had in more than a century. They failed. They failed to show up, and they failed workers, not just in meatpacking, but in all industries. They knew what they needed to do back in March. They needed to issue an emergency standard. They failed. And as a consequence, they failed all workers, especially in meatpacking. And so what I saw on Friday, or on Thursday and Friday, was typical of OSHA's failure during this pandemic.
So as it pertains to this facility in South Dakota, it did reopen in May. Do you have much confidence that now, the right measures are going to be taken to protect the workers?
Well, the workers in South Dakota are lucky because they're represented by a union. And, since the pandemic started, our union has worked with a number of companies in the meatpacking industry to make it safer. I think the current numbers across the industry are showing that the work that we've done as a union with the employers have made the industry, at least for this time, being safe. But I go back to what OSHA can do. In this time, all the work that we have done with the employers across the industry, it's not too late for OSHA to issue that emergency standard, because there may be a second wave. And if there is a second wave, we need that enforceable standard so everybody across the meat industry understands exactly what they have to do to make their workers safe. There's none of this, half of the industry do this, half of them do that. I'm terribly concerned about what's happening to non-union workers across this country in this industry.
You don't believe it's too late to even have some sort of national standard?
No, and I think we need to have one. OSHA should have had the opportunity when they were looking at the meat industry. They should have used that as an opportunity to make an emergency standard that's enforceable. What's sad about this is OSHA knows how to do this. During the H1N1 pandemic, OSHA issued an emergency standard for this industry. They know how to do it, get this job done, and they can make it safer for workers. But as typical, what we're seeing is failure. And what we saw on Thursday with these citations, this is OSHA trying to cover up, because people now are saying, why didn't you do your job? And so they're making this half-hearted approach to do their job.
So barring some sort of national standard or for OSHA to step in, what's the signal being sent to other meatpacking companies to see that Smithfield is going to pay up $13,000, but do you worry about the message that is being sent and received by other meatpacking companies?
Well, I know what's going to happen with the meatpacking companies that I represent. Our union is going to push, and we're going to push, and we're going to push them to make the workplace safer. We have shown since the pandemic started and the work we have done that we can do good work to make these places safer. That's what we're going to do as a union. We're going to do the pushing, because we know what should be a biggest ally for workers in this country, OSHA, has failed to show up to the game. And so this union is going to just step in, and we're going to push the employers to make those workplaces as safe as possible.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Mark Lauritsen with the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. We'll have you back.
Thank you, Frederica.